Let's start today's important news. In a pathetic, disastrous, and negligent episode yesterday, 17 dead in massive explosion at a pharma unit near Hyderabad. 30 workers suffered injuries, with many crushed or trapped under the debris amid the chaos following the explosion. Rescue work underway with the teams combing the debris for survivors, victims, and official inquiry on to determine the cause of the blast. It's a pharma company, and the sources are telling that it's a chemical reactor blast, and the workers who are working there, they have actually suffered a lot, and more than, people say around 10, 30 died, but newspapers are telling around 17 died, and the bodies actually were shredded, and they were almost in the blast, even body parts were found. Most of the workers employed at the unit are migrants from Bihar and West Bengal. One of them had said that factory had 12 hours work shift from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. At the time of the blast, around 80 workers were believed to be working in the production unit. 5 of the persons were charred in the fire, said by National Disaster Response Force Deputy Commander. DNA testing has been ordered to identify the deceased, whose bodies were charred beyond recognition. A majority of the victims were trapped under the production unit housing the reactor when it collapsed. The fire control room received the distress call around 9:37 a.m. on June 30th morning, after which 15 fire tenders, including robots, hazmas, and multi-purpose vehicles, were deployed. Vehicles were rushed from Secunderabad to Rajendra Nagar fire stations. Vehicles were rushed from Secunderabad and Rajendra Nagar fire stations. Rescue efforts continued late night. So this is a pathetic, disastrous incident which has happened in a pharma plant near Hyderabad. Sangareddy. President of India, Draupadi Murmu, begins two-day visit to Gorakhpur to open Ayush University. Indian President Draupadi Murmu will embark on a two-day visit to UP, that is on July 1st and July 2nd, during which she will attend the first convocation ceremony of All India Institute of Medical Sciences in Gorakhpur. According to the UP CM's office, the President will also inaugurate the state's first Ayush University. This is very important. Along with attending the convocation ceremony of AIIMS, she is also inaugurating the first Ayush University. This Ayush University is very important. Quad nations launch historic at-sea observer mission to enhance maritime security. Quad nations are going to launch historic at-sea observer mission to enhance maritime security. The coast guards of the Quad nations, India, Japan, US, and Australia, have launched a multilateral initiative titled Quad at Sea Ship Observer Mission. The Indian Coast Guard termed the initiative as a landmark step towards deepening maritime cooperation in the Indo-Pacific. You all know that there are 4 countries, India, America, Australia, Japan. Now they are going to launch at Sea Observer Mission to have deeper maritime cooperation. This is a strategic move or initiative which have officers, including women officers, from each participating nation. So they will actually embark on board the US Coast Guard cutter Stratton, currently en route to Guam. So this is a collective resolve to strengthen free, open, inclusive, and rule-based Indo-Pacific. Free, open, rule-based, and inclusive Indo-Pacific. And wildfires burn in Turkey and France as early heat waves hit. There are wildfires in Turkey and France. Firefighters are battling with wildfires in Turkey and France on June 30th as an early heat wave hit the region. In Turkey, the wildfires raged for a second day in the western province of Izmir, fanned by strong winds. And Turkey's coastal regions have in recent years been ravaged by wildfires as summers have become hotter and drier which scientists say as a result of human-induced climate change. So wildfires are increasing because of climate change also. Turkey and France have seen wildfires as early heat waves hit the region. And next important news, as Prime Minister Modi ji tomorrow is going to launch his 5 leg visit, is going to start his 5 leg visit. India to set up vaccine hub in Ghana, expanding UPI in Namibia during Prime Minister Modi's tour. So, on the first day of his tour, he is going to visit Ghana, and on the last day, he used to go to Namibia. He has to go to Namibia. So, in Ghana, India is launching a vaccine hub, and in Namibia, we are launching our UPI. Prime Minister Narendra Modi's upcoming 5 nation visit, which is going to begin tomorrow on July 2nd, will see significant advancements in India's bilateral relations with African countries of Ghana and Namibia, including the establishment of vaccine hub in Ghana and expanding the unified payments interface with Namibia. During a special briefing, the Ministry of External Affairs said this statement, and this move aims to help Ghana's healthcare infrastructure, particularly as the country undergoes economic restructuring under IMF conditionalities, and strengthening India-Ghana relations. So this is very important, and Ghana and India are now planning to expand their trade. In Ghana, Prime Minister Narendra Modi will engage in delegation level talks, have a one-on-one meeting with President John Dramani Mahama, addressing the Ghana's parliament and addressing the Indian community at Ghana, who are around 15,000. This visit, early in Ghana's President John Dramani Mahama's tenure, following his landslide victory in January. So, India and Ghana are trying to expand their trade. So, next important news coming from Tamil Nadu. Tamil Nadu commences restoration of Kariyachalli Island in Gulf of Mannar to combat erosion and boost marine biodiversity. After the successful restoration of Vaughan Island in Gulf of Mannar Marine National Park, the Tamil Nadu government has commenced the restoration of Kariyachalli Island in Gulf of Mannar region under the Tamil Nadu Sustainably Harnessing Ocean Resource Initiative, TN Shore Initiative. So now they are restoring islands. India eyes Vietnam, Indonesia, Philippines to give a boost to basmati exports. As growth in shipments of India's prized basmati exports, the central government is planning to send a delegation to rice-producing nations of Vietnam, Indonesia and Philippines in coming months to enhance outbound shipments of the commodity. We want to create a market for a long-grain basmati rice. In rice-producing nations such as Vietnam, because they may be competitors, but their rice is different. Small grain rice or sticky rice. So, Indian rice is long grain rice. Indian basmati rice is long grain rice. Rice, basmati and non-basmati has the major share of India's cereal exports at 95% in value terms. So, rice, basmati, non-basmati, they are the major share in the India's cereal exports. Exports of basmati from Vietnam, Indonesia and Philippines are also increasing. The major buyers of exports of basmati from Vietnam, Indonesia, Philippines are Saudi Arabia, Iran, Iraq, UAE, US and Yemen. Okay, so we are now vying on producing our own variety of basmati, which can be exportable, which is different from Vietnam, Indonesia and Philippines. See, it's not just knowing what is India's relationship with Southeast Asian nations. You should know even the small, simple things with respect to these things. Where we are competing, in which fields we are competing. In rice exports, India, Vietnam, Philippines, all this, Indonesia, they are all competing in the international market. You should have an idea on this, because India is actually considering this. So, you should also have the idea on this. And the other important news, Kuki extremist leader, 3 others shot dead in Manipur. An extremist leader from Kuki-Zo community and his 2 bodyguards were killed in Churchandapur district of Manipur by unidentified gunmen who ambushed in the car. So you all know that Manipur Article 356 was imposed. Still the violence is going on in Manipur between Kukis and Meiteis. And next important news, Sri Salem Temple EVO sees conspiracy behind cockroach in Laddu claim. Cockroach in Laddu claim. A day after reports emerged that a cockroach was found in the Laddu Prasadam of Sri Brahmaramba Mallikarjuna Swami Temple in Sri Salem, the temple management said that their analysis of CCTV camera footage revealed that a possible conspiracy to malign the temple's reputation. A possible conspiracy to malign the temple's reputation. The management suspects that a group of devotees placed a locust inside the Laddu Prasadam and then entered into the argument with the staff. So, I don't know what is happening with the gods. Puri Jagannath, Tirupati Tirumala, Sri Salam Laddu Prasadam, Simhachalam incident, all these things. News from the south, Amaravati to have operational quantum computing center soon. AP CM Chandrababu Naidu expressed his commitment to make a quantum computing center in Amaravati fully operational from January 1st, 2026 to develop Quantum Valley on the lines of Silicon Valley. Okay, good, nice. If it goes well, it's good, right? If you see, the one important article that is running throughout the news is, as Bihar elections are impending, the Election Commission of India is rushing intensively to revise electoral rolls in Bihar. Okay, it might end up in much more confusion. There is a lot of discussion going on this. Elections in India feature a large number of voters from among the poor and marginalized sections when compared to West, offering them the best outlet to register their views while choosing their representatives. The Election Commission of India has done yeoman work in increasing voter participation by easing the voting registration, allowing the poor in even less developed states to vote enthusiastically. It's very important. And the other article is written by M.K. Narayanan. He is a former director, IB, former National Security Advisor and former Governor of West Bengal. In a perilous world, India must read the tea leaves well. What do you mean by reading the tea leaves? Without Googling it, without the help of the Google, can anyone tell what do you mean by reading the tea leaves? If you tell that meaning of the idiom, I'll clap. With little science, with limited information, if you can comprehend what should be done, if you can comprehend the next idea with a limited information, with a limited input, with a limited signal sign, if you can comprehend your course of action, that is reading the tea leaf. So this is all about the world, India's foreign policy. It's your subject. India's foreign policy is currently facing an existential crisis. The second term of Trump administration, which had previously been welcomed by India, has upset India's carefully crafted foreign policy. The recent India-Pak conflict should also be viewed as a wake-up call. As details of the extent of China's military connections to Pakistan and of the equipment transferred to the Pakistan, India must take the notice. Next to China-Pakistan nexus in the region, it is India's approach to events in West Asia and Israel-Iran conflict that clearly need a relook. India has tried, not very successfully, to sit on the fence as far as the current Israel-Iran war is concerned. But it probably needs to think through what is best in its interest. The stakes have become higher with US involving itself directly in the Israel-Iran conflict, which saw it using for the first time its GBU-57 bunker buster bomb to destroy Iran's nuclear facilities at Fordo, Natanz and another embedded nuclear site. Neutrality is no longer an option, and despite the announcement of a ceasefire, the possibility of an all-out war is a distinct possibility. So, with this note, you can understand India is trying to play safe, but that should not be the India's foreign policy. Neutrality is no more an option. Neutrality is no more an option. On the one side, we are observing how America and Pakistan relations are developing. On the other side, we are observing how China and Pakistan relations are developing. And on the other side, in the West Asian crisis, you have seen America first time bringing GBU-57 bunker buster bombs against Iran. India should no more sit on the fence and watch. India should sit no more on the fence and watch. This is a story that is upcoming. Coming back, India's shameful VIP culture has no place in public events. In Puri Jagannath Ratha Yatra, 3 devotees died with commotion, stampede. There have been 9 stampedes in India in the past 12 months, with 6 of them at religious gatherings. This includes most recent one at Puri Jagannath Ratha Yatra. 3 people were killed and more than 50 were injured. Acknowledging the negligence and security lapses, the state government was swift to order a probe. The centuries-old chariot procession is an annual and month-long event between June and July. But the heart of the festival is the 9-day chariot procession or Ratha Yatra, when Lord Jagannath travels with his 2 siblings Balabhadra and Subhadra to their aunt's Gudincha's home. About 500,000 devotees visit the 3-kilometer radius around the temple. While a full investigation is pending, initial reports suggest that the telltale signs of stampede was overlooked. Okay. See, this time I also heard many VIP passes were given. Everybody have become a VIP. There will be inner cordon where no one will be allowed. But this time the inner cordon is full of people. Inner cordon means around the Radha chariot, police will not allow any person in certain distance. But that was completely full. And flocking to see Lord Jagannatha, all people have come towards the Jagannath Radha, and while procession is going on towards Gudincha temple, there is a complete stampede and people died with suffocation and stampede. That has happened. So this is an avoidable disaster, but unfortunately it happened. This is very important. India fast tracks 52 satellites for precision surveillance following Operation Sindoor. Space-based satellite surveillance system costing around 27,000. We are going to have 52 satellites. 21 were being launched by ISRO and remaining 31 are being by private sector. And this space-based satellite surveillance system we had from 2001 with the initiation of RISAT, radar imaging satellites. In 2001 they have launched around 4. In 2013 the second phase they have launched around 6. Now almost 52 satellites were launching, and earlier the satellites, the surveillance satellites in RISAT satellites and Cartosats, all these things, they were placed in the low Earth orbits. Now the 52 satellites, some of them are being placed in the geostationary orbit and some of them are in the low Earth orbit, so that 24/7 real-time monitoring of the security, border management and disasters, military support, all these things will be given by these 52 space-based surveillance satellites. The first satellite is going to be launched in this third phase or before around April 1st, 2026, and in 3 years time they are going to launch 52 satellites by 2029. This is a news that is coming up, very important and trending news. Okay.